live in the morning on KTRS.
Pray for stuff that you shouldn't be praying for. Like, I shouldn't have to pray to make it home safely without the police pulling me over. I shouldn't have to do that. That's not a prayer I should have to make. But I do it. And I know Jesus understands because he hung around thugs. He did. Jesus had 12 disciples. That's 13 people everywhere you go. If that's not gangster, I don't know what is.
That is the comedy stylings, if you will, of the winner of Last Comic Standing. He's going to be appearing at the Helium Club tonight and 2 shows on Saturday. Clayton English in studio. Thanks for joining us here on Big 550 KTRS.
Man, glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, man.
Okay.
My family's originally from Pensacola, but I grew up there since middle school. That's where I started my comedy career. So, yeah.
And tell us about Last Comic Standing.
Oh, man. I mean, it was amazing.
It's like comedy boot camp in a sense.
Yeah, man. It's really like it's March Madness for comedians almost.
Right.
You know, you start off with 100 comedians, and then they whittle it down to the top 5, and one of them comes out of it. So
what's amazing to me about that show is it's unlike a food show where they want you to cook a steak or like make you got to write comedy in 3 days.
Yeah.
Nobody understands how ridiculously hard that is.
And well, I mean, for me it was kind of cool because I've been doing comedy 10 years, so I had a lot of stuff to pull from.
Right.
But now your task is figuring out how to do a 3-minute set, because that's not normally you get a lot more time to work in your material and let people see the type of comedian you are. But when you got 3 minutes, you got to get in there and you got to hit them quick. So coming from Atlanta, we got real rough crowds, so they give you about a minute to say something funny.
Right.
And if you're not on your way to saying something funny in a minute, you get booed. So a lot of that stuff played in.
You know, it's really interesting because with social media and the fast-paced world, you know, in the 80s when comedy sort of exploded, I think the audience gave, even though at the time the comedians wouldn't say that, but I bet you they gave the comedians more time to settle in. But now, if your first joke's not funny, they say not funny, you're an idiot, and then start bad
you got Instagram, you got Vine, 15 seconds of being funny. If I shoot 30 minutes of material and then I edit it down to the funniest 15 seconds, anybody could do that.
Yeah.
But to hold people's attention live, I think you're right, because that comedy boom in the 80s, you know, the A&E at the Improv, all those shows they had, like people were selling out stadiums, like Dice Clay selling out stadiums, and Steve Martin was selling out stadiums, like it was crazy.
Yeah, well, we just talked about the passing of Gary Shandling.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy, if you don't have Gary Shandling, you don't have The Office, you don't have 30 Rock.
You don't have, I think you might not really have what they call the single cam shows, you know, like you said, like The Office, like 30 Rock.
Right.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
No, it's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told a great story where he walked into HBO and gave him the idea for the Larry Sanders Show, which was a fake backstory on a late-night talk show.
Right.
So it was like a fake of a fake of a fake.
Right.
And the HBO people were like, what are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense to us. But yeah, no. It's
and
really
now they can't have TV without those type of shows.
Yeah.
Because I remember before he had the Gary. This is the Gary Shandling show
on Showtime.
Yeah. Then I remember the Larry Sanders Show. But I think that set the tone for a lot of these shows, man.
Clayton English, our guest. When you win Last Comic Standing, what do you win?
Yes. You get a prize. You get prize money. So it's
They give you $20.
No, it's
and 2 drinks.
No, that was previous. That was most of my comedy rewards messing with these clubs. But no, you get $200,000. You get a development deal for a year, and the $200,000 is split up into the development deal. But I got the development deal, and I'm working on it. So
what's that gonna? Where's that gonna be?
Hopefully, I'm trying to take it to the next level and get my own Larry Sanders show. Try to be innovative. But I mean, we'll see where it goes. I'm working on it now, just trying to meet the right people, showrunners and stuff.
The genius of comedians is that whether it's Seinfeld or Gary Shandling or any of them, whether it's Eddie Murphy or any of those guys, they take their life and they make it funny, right? And so in some sense, the formula is easy.
Yeah, it's
right there in front of you, but you got to find it.
Yeah, that's the thing about it, because you look at it as your life, and you're like, "What's there? There's nothing here." Everybody's life is like this, and it's not. You know. So when you start talking to these people, and you just casually mention stuff that's super interesting to them, but it's just ho-hum to you, like,
Right.
yeah, I worked with a circus for a year and a half. And they're like, wait, you work with a circus?
Right.
That needs to be a show. And I'm like, no, it was just something I did. Who hasn't worked for the circus,
No,
you know?
I didn't like working for the circus. Why would I want to do a show about
right,
working for the circus?
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
no,
but yeah, you got to mind yourself for material.
Yeah, no, and the clip we played of you talking about driving home as a black man in, that's a really serious subject.
Yeah.
But to put a funny spin on it, I don't want to oversell this, but comics do a great social justice because we're able to talk about things and put a laugh on it, and yet still make a point.
Yeah, and I mean that's how you got to deal with most stuff. Like a lot of stuff, you could get angry about it all you want, but if you're not thinking with a clear head and you can't convey those ideas to anybody, you're not going to be able to get it out.
Have you always wanted to be a comedian?
I think I didn't know that was a thing I could be, that it was an option, but I've always loved comedy. Like, been a big fan. Like, when my parents used to let me watch HBO specials, so the first specials I saw were Robin Harris and George Carlin.
Yeah.
So from there, I discovered all the other comedians.
I loved Def Comedy Jam.
Yeah,
I
it
thought
was a good show, man.
That was the best.
It gets a bad rap now. People talk about people and they say, oh, well, he's a Def Jam comedian. And when they say that, they mean to say, oh, well, he's an urban comedian or he uses a lot of profanity.
Right.
And I think they're wrong about that because I think Def Jam was a glimpse into a comedy world that people didn't get to see.
Absolutely.
A lot of people didn't get to see.
It was social commentary.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times when they say Def Jam comedian, I think sometimes they think about the Comic View comedians because of how Comic View did comedians. They would show people doing the same jokes. They would edit your jokes. They would cut it in. They would put crickets in there if it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
And it wasn't flattering to comedians.
I
But
don't
Def
know.
Comedy Jam was that,
there was nothing funnier than the one white guy in the audience. And they're like, "Hey, Bob, how are you?" I mean,
Exactly.
When a white comedian does when a black comedian does a white guy, that's hysterical to me. Hey man, what's up? I mean, that's just a funny. It's not funny when a white comedian talks urban, but when a black guy talks white, that's hysterical.
It's like like when you're talking with your girl or your lady and she does your guy voice. It's always like, well, you always say, you're like, I don't talk like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like nobody sounds like that.
Clayton English is a comedian and the winner of Last Comic Standing. He'll be appearing at the Helium Comedy Club tonight, and then 2 shows tomorrow night. The Helium Comedy Club is the new one at the Galleria. It's a great venue to see comedy. And so if you got some friends and family in town, Clayton English, hey, good luck with the development deal.
Thank you so much.
You're always welcome here. And when you hit it big, don't forget about St. Louis.
Come on, man. I like St. Louis, man.
Right,
I'm trying to go get some gooey butter cake or whatever
There you
y'all
go.
eat up here.
There you go. Great. Clayton, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, man.